Check, check. Can you hear me? How y'all doing? All right, I got 12. So shall we dive in? Get rolling? Let's do it. All right, so um, here, I'm just gonna position this so you all can hear me great. Got my clicker, got my water, might take some sips. To dive in, so shipping successful games is as hard as it's ever been, but the barriers are different. With the introduction of self-publishing, the challenges for developers have evolved from finding a publisher to finding your audience. There are tens of thousands of games shipping every year, and your competition is not just the games that ship when your game ships, but it's the thousands of other games that are offering endless fun and engagement for years that shipped years ago. You're competing with streaming services, social media, news, life in general, because you're competing for time and mind share. One of your biggest challenges is that we as adults have to adult. Wake up, work out, eat up, clean up, go to school, go to work, go to meetings, follow up, pay the bills, pay attention, feed the cat, feed your ambition, read the book, read the room, camera on, you're on mute. I joke, but with all the demands of life and when players have so much access, it can be difficult to break through. My name is James Lewis, and I'm the director of the ID at Xbox Developer Acceleration Program. And my goal is to equip you with a few tools to help you succeed in reaching your audience and maximizing your success on Xbox. Before we dive in, here are some things. I have 3 things that you should know about me. 1, my head has always been this large, but I did my best to grow into it. I think I did all right. I'm also a storyteller at heart. As the only child growing up in Louisiana, my imagination was my best friend, so I learned to enjoy the power of storytelling. The story that I'm telling today is a story where you're the protagonist. It's about your journey. Number 2, my perspective is informed by my experience serving in multiple roles, ranging from tester to producer to account manager to business development manager to narrative producer and now program director. So I've seen this industry and business from multiple angles, and my goal is to leverage those experiences to serve as a mentor or maybe an oracle in your story. And then number 3, a large part of my personal why is my family. My daughter Ella turns 10 today, and she is the undeniable truth and evidence that despite my own shortcomings, I've been able to add beauty to this world. And without the love and support of my wife, I would not be standing before you today. But my daughter and I love to play video games together, and I hope that the work that I do can help her to experience more stories and more characters that she can relate to and enjoy for years to come. A little bit more about my background. I spent the last 12 years with Xbox, helping developers of all sizes to bring their games to more players. You can see a few of those titles on your screen now. I also serve organizations who focus on making game development more inclusive. I currently sit on the board for the IGDA Foundation, and I work with the Experience Fund. So it's from these experiences and perspectives that I'm speaking with you today. So let's dive in. So today I'll help you understand, number 1, our mission and vision, as well as our strategy and how we accomplish it. I'll give you a quick guide for how to build a winning strategy with Xbox. We'll talk about and I'll explain the journey of ID at Xbox. Then we'll offer some tips to how to maximize your success in the pre-launch, launch, and post-launch windows. And then I'll provide an overview of a program that exists to support emerging independent developers. All right, so starting at the top, at Xbox, our mission is to bring the joy and community of gaming to everyone on the planet and allow them to play the games they want with the people they want, anywhere they want. The key to enabling this is making sure that we empower game creators like you to deliver great content successfully. When players have little time but plenty of options, it's important to find ways to stand out and engage with them. So before we jump into tips and how to have success shipping on Xbox, I think it's important for you to understand our strategy in delighting players, as well as some of the key points that define that strategy. First and foremost, we see a rise in multi-device gamers and their growing desire to play across screens. Players enjoy being able to access their games as they flow through the busyness of life. I'm not always able to sit on my couch and play Avowed. Quick plug for Avowed, great game, check it out. But it's good to know that I can have a quick session playing that game at lunch from my PC, from my phone, from my handheld, or when I'm taking the kiddo to soccer practice and pretending to watch, I can play. I'm just kidding. I always watch my kid play soccer. I never just play video games. One of the ways that we support multi-device gaming is with cloud gaming. Players love having the option to play their games in more places, and Xbox Cloud Gaming has expanded to new devices to enable more places to play. You may have seen, heard about, or experienced gaming from a smart TV or a Fire TV. These efforts are doing great. They're doing a great job of making gaming accessible to more people in more places. The next part of delighting players is ensuring that they have a cohesive experience. We call this Xbox Play Anywhere. So games that support Xbox Play Anywhere have seen more hours played per player by 20%. To date, we've seen more than 1,000 games supporting Xbox Play Anywhere, and it's part of the value add for games that are in Game Pass. As we look outside of Game Pass, we see opportunity for more titles to support multi-device gaming. Some of the key ways the key ways to support Xbox Play Anywhere and enabling more player options is shipping on Xbox and Xbox PC, where players will also have the ability to stream your game. So the couple features that ensure seamless play experiences are: one, cross progression. This is ensuring that the player's game progress carries over regardless of which Xbox platform they play from. So if I start playing Avowed on my console, sitting on my couch, and then I want to pick up and play from another device, I don't want to have to start that game over. I want to be able to pick up from that same save game. So cross progression is a key aspect of this. The second thing is cross entitlement. Ensuring that the player has access to your game helps to improve engagement and visibility. So again, if I start playing on my console and then I go over to my handheld device, and if I have to repurchase that game, then maybe I decide to do something else. So now I'm not engaging as much. Other titles can also consider things like cross-play for games that have co-op and other multiplayer experiences. Enabling cross-play provides a consistent experience regardless of the chosen play device. So given the signal that we're seeing from players, it shouldn't come as a surprise that we're hoping to lean into XPA as a way to delight more players. And with that in mind, check this out.
This for that, this for that, this for that, this for that. Who's the black sheep? What's the black sheep? Now know who I am or when I'm coming, so you sleep. Well, you heard the others, only silver lovers. Then of course, the choice is yours. You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this, or you can get with that. I think we're good with this, for this is where it's at. Where it's at. Come on, this for that, this for that, this for that.
So I really put that in there because I like the music. No, it's a really good ad. So if you haven't already seen that, I hope you enjoyed it. But that just talks about the efforts that we're putting into multi-device, delighting players with multiple devices. So to recap the major points so far, enabling multi-device gaming is a key way to increase engagement and win more mind share from a very busy player base. If you're seeking to join us on this journey, here's your cheat sheet for doing so. First, publish your games across Xbox console, Xbox PC, and cloud to take part in our growth and reach players everywhere. Then consider how to optimize your games for devices. UI text scaling for small screens, native touch for mobile, or optimization for handheld PCs that are part of Xbox today. Support programs like Xbox Play Anywhere to make it easier for players to move seamlessly between Xbox devices. And then maximizing commercial best practices, from considering Game Pass to taking advantage of some of the advice that I'll share here in a moment. A quick note, I'm not actually doing I'm not going to do a deep dive on Game Pass today, but I do want to let you all know that supporting Xbox Play Anywhere also prepares you for Game Pass. Titles that are selected for the service are already doing this work to ensure that players have the best multi-device experience. We have seen games like Vimba, Body Manor, and more from the ID at Xbox go on to delight players in the service. There's actually a roundtable later this afternoon where developers are talking about their experience supporting Xbox Play Anywhere, so I encourage you to check it out if you'd like to learn more. All right. Now that you've seen the mission and the vision for helping people play the games they want, when and where they want, let's get into the practical steps and remove any fog from the map so that you can clearly see the path ahead. One of the key ways that we empower developers is with the Independent Developer at Xbox program, or ID at Xbox. ID at Xbox enables qualified game creators to unleash their creativity by self-publishing digital games on Xbox platforms, which includes Xbox Series, Xbox One, Xbox PC, and cloud. For more than a decade, ID at Xbox program has been helping independent developers bring their creations to Xbox. In that time, we've seen some amazing games come through the program, games like Cuphead and Palworld, Body Manor. We partner with over 5,000 developers spanning 100 countries who have shipped more than 6,000 games, which have received over $5 billion to our partners. We're excited for you to join these teams. So if this is your first time hearing about it, we hope that you can join their ranks. And this is how you get started. Visiting xbox.com/ID will start you on this journey. And then this is what the journey looks like. And you might be thinking, this looks like a map from Sea of Thieves that James edited in PowerPoint. That's because that's what I did, and you're right. But bear with me. So starting at Rookie Owl, this is our onboarding experience. You start here by completing the non-disclosure agreement to protect your information and ensure that we can easily share information with you. Then you submit your game concept in as much detail as you have, anything from a pitch deck to a gameplay video to a full build. The more you share, the better. Once your concept is approved, you'll get access to SDK, dev kits, lots of great documentation, and the support of our team. Next stop is Developers Cove. Now you're on to just developing your game. At this step, your focus is purely on development and then on adding in the Xbox Live features like achievements and then creating your product and getting ready for and submitting to certification. Once you pass cert, you will then move on to product configuration, which is where you get everything ready for your title's release date, such as setting up store page, maybe doing pre-orders. At launch landing, this is where you publish and test your game in a private environment where you can also run flights and test promotions for your title. Now, you can do this step in earlier phases, but if you haven't done it by the time you get to this point, it is definitely a time that you want to engage and make sure you're doing that. Next is set sail, release your game. And then lastly, you can update and sustain your game depending on your own post-release engagement schedule. But this is what the full process looks like. Like I said, thousands of studios have blazed this path before you, so you will always be in good company. All right, so now you know what self-publishing on Xbox looks like. Next, I'll share some tips to help you make the most of your journey. For the teams that have shipped games through ID before, hopefully these points are reminders. And for our new teams, I invite you to incorporate this information into your own planning. The tips are broken down into pre-launch, launch, and post-launch windows and presented in a stop, start, maintain format. Stop being current trends or actions that we see that may not be benefiting the developers or needing to change. Start being things that we think will benefit developers that are underutilized, and maintain being things that most of our developers are doing that we think are great, and we just think you should just keep doing it. All right, so we'll start with the longest section, which is our pre-launch phase. First up is stop underestimating cert timelines. Cert is a very important part of the process, so don't let this one creep up on you. Once you finish onboarding, start familiarizing yourself with our submission portal, Partner Center, as soon as possible. We recommend that teams budget at least 2 months for the certification process, and that's just to allow you time to submit, go through the test period, maybe have some issues that you need to fix, Have time to fix those issues, resubmit without adding stress to your timelines and to your project. Get familiar with Partner Center early, understand the certification requirements, and then passing cert days or hours before your intended release is one way to close your game off to some great opportunities for visibility and promotion, so please do not do that. Give yourself plenty of time for that process. Next thing is, please stop announcing launch dates too early. Like, we understand game development is challenging and dates often need to move. We move dates all the time on the back end, but the challenge sometimes comes when the date has been communicated publicly. Then it becomes difficult because now there may be efforts. You may have invested in a certain date. We may have tried to align marketing efforts around a certain date. Even worse, your fans, your players may have expectations around a certain date, and it becomes more challenging to change that date. So we ask that you only announce a date when you have a positive signal that you can actually hit that date. And one of the most positive signals that you can have is passing certification. So just be mindful of that. And until you pass certification, say things like coming soon, or maybe just have a launch window, but just be very mindful of not announcing that date too early. Next thing is stop relying on platforms solely for marketing. Like, our friends in marketing love supporting our partners and they are excited to help, but you should view them as support, not primary. They will not drive your strategy, but they can provide guidance and amplification. Whenever you engage with marketing, feel free to share your plans and ideas, and then be curious. Be open to feedback and suggestions. Sometimes they may inform you that your targeted launch window is crowded, which will make promotions challenging. Now, not every team has the flexibility to shift dates based on that recommendation, but for teams that talk to us early, we would love to find ways to assist with your announce and/or release strategy. All right, on to start. Start understanding the store journey for your title and how you can maximize the visibility for your title. Passing cert gives you the confidence in your release date, which means you can now build hype around that moment by setting up pre-orders, demos, promotions, promoting your wish list, taking advantage of our notification systems. Pre-orders, I can't stress the importance of that enough because it gives you additional visibility. And then also developers that offer pre-order incentives see more engagement than those that don't. So do whatever you can to maximize the sales and engagement before your title ever releases, because this is how you maximize your visibility in the store. Next thing here is to start building your community early. You can leverage features like official clubs to cultivate your community and ensure that fans of your game know how to connect with other members of your community. Having a vibrant community can have obvious impacts on the life of your game, so be intentional in establishing and supporting your community. Look, many of the teams that I work with don't have a dedicated community manager, which I understand, but you can start small. You know, once your team or once you or your team establishes a community and culture, you might be able to gain support from members of that community. You may be surprised by how far a small yet consistent engagement can go in making your community feel welcoming and alive. And then next thing is here, start getting your game in front of people, more people. Once the game is through cert, you can pull up to 5,000 tokens for the game. These tokens can not be sold, but they can be sent to press, influencers, key members of your community, and streamers to help build interest and excitement around your game. You can also leverage things like trials, demos, betas, and other programs and other features to get your game in front of more players. For maintain, ensure that you make your product detail page the best reflection of your game out there. Most of the people who find your game on console will discover your game on a curated list, such as new releases. This word is so hard for me. Can y'all say it with me? How do you say this? Algorithmic. Oh my goodness. Afterwards, we're going to have a whole, we're going to come together. We're going to spell this word out for me. But essentially, the new releases and the other lists for your game will show up in these lists. So make sure you're maximizing your exposure across all of the lists. Other things like box art, these are great ways to maximize your exposure to ensure that your game is showing up in the best ways possible. All right, launch. Main thing here, stop leaving money on the table. Launch discounts have proven to not be an effective way of converting sales. Instead, you are providing a discount to players who are likely happy to pay the full amount to support the game. They don't really drive incremental sales, and they instead consider creating bonus content. Gamers appreciate that more. Save your discounts for later. Stop launching during busy times. We don't expect you to have a full understanding of the roadmap. We don't expect you to have a crystal ball, but this really just goes back to that communication point. Communicating with marketing early, we can give you a sense for, hey, what other things or how many things are landing in a key area? What opportunities do we have for motion in a key area? So the more that we're communicating, the more we can help you to avoid launching your game during a busy window where we may struggle to give you additional attention in that moment. I think a lot of us know that spring and summers are much more open, although sales can be kind of a slump there. So I would say for any of that guidance, we should have conversations and be engaging with our marketing team pretty early. And then price inconsistencies. Make sure that your players don't have to shop around to understand the best price for your game or to understand what they're getting with that game. Be very consistent and transparent with the pricing for your title. Start upselling through trials. So again, getting your game in front of more people, especially when you have if your game is compelling and sticky, then having a trial out there is a great way of getting someone hands-on if they're unsure about it, and then creating a way for them to upsell into that product. Start aligning with press. Start being ensured that you are also finding ways to connect with press and then letting us know about those efforts. So again, we can amplify and support you. We might have different events that we're doing. As we're coming to GDC, we often have opportunities to connect with, have you in one of our showcases. So this is a part of, once you're getting our newsletters, understanding, what opportunities are available, and make sure you're following up with us and having that conversation. So again, I talk a lot about talking to us early and often. So I'm going to repeat that several times today, but talk to us early and often. The more that we understand about your goals, the more we can help you and offer some insights along the way. And then maintain pricing. I'd say right now we're seeing a lot of developers are pricing their game at what they think is appropriate for their title. We think you're doing a wonderful job here. Please maintain that. But things you should note. If you're wondering if you should price your game at $15 versus $20, we don't see a huge difference there. So we'd say price your game at $20, because that difference is not going to matter a ton, because now at least you're creating space for a discount later for your game. We find that when games are priced at, $9 or less, now players might be wondering, hey, why is this game not valued higher? Is there something about this game that I should know? So find the sweet spot for your game, and some of this comes by understanding other games in the store, other games that are out there. How are those games priced? What's the value prop for those titles? So make sure you feel comfortable about where your game is priced, but also don't think a lower price is going to automatically equal more sales. Price your game appropriately to how you feel about the quality of the content. Post-launch. Not a lot here. So again, we started in pre-launch, which is a lot of where you can set the path and the course for your game. But the main things here are just stop waiting to build your post-launch. You build your roadmap. How you approach your post-launch roadmap will differ based on the type of game that you're creating and your business model. But even if your game is not operating as a service, you can still map out ways to build and maintain interest and a healthy community. In addition to content updates, plan for community events and challenges. Leverage platform features to continue promoting. You know, there are a lot of things that we're doing on the platforms. We may have different sales that we have going on, different beats. And again, this all comes down to communication. So make sure you're taking advantage of all the options that exist for us to support you there, and including plan your discount strategy. We have sales that are going on all the time, and we're looking for content to include in those sales. So maybe there's a theme sale that may be going on in a particular month, like in Halloween. We have sales that are going on in those windows. So the more we're talking to you, we can help you find ways to include you in one of those sales, which have a lot of visibility, a lot of lift, which again means more visibility on your titles. And then to maintain here is maintain the consistent community engagement. I can't stress enough how much just being consistent, even with small things, can be meaningful to your communities. All right, so we talked about mission, vision, strategy. We've covered ID journey and tips for the journey. Now I'll close by talking about a program that I lead called the ID at Xbox Developer Acceleration Program. So DAP's mission is to empower underrepresented creators with the resources and information needed to bring your creativity, innovation, and originality to Xbox. The type of developers that we seek to support includes, but is not limited to, developers who are led by those from Latino, Black, Indigenous, LGBTQIA+ communities, women developers, developers with disabilities, developers from emerging markets such as Southeast Asia, India, and Africa, and developers creating games with a focus on accessibility. We invite talented developers from around the world to share their perspectives and stories with us. And then the developers who partner with us can expect support in a few different ways. Number one, we offer investment. So we have investment, there's information, and then we also offer incubation. So I'll spend the next few slides talking about these different initiatives that are part of the Developer Acceleration Program, starting with investment. First, we understand that when you're choosing which platforms you want to support, it can be challenging. And we want our developers, especially our new teams that are trying to reach their audience on Xbox, to not have to decide between polishing their game, supporting their game with marketing, or which platforms they're going to land on. So we offer investments to those teams to offset their porting cost. It's non-recoupable in a way of just helping ensure that those teams are having some success when they are able to reach their audience on Xbox. Typically, for teams that are applying, they're probably somewhere between 12 to 18 months from releasing their title. So we invite, and so to date, we've partnered with more than 200 teams and have seen more than 75 titles launched through the program. One of our partners at Balloon Studios in Whitethorn, our friends at Botany Manor, had this to say. I'll let you pause a few seconds here and let you read it. Botany Manor is a wonderful game. If you haven't played it, please check it out. All right, another means of support that we offer our developers is through information. Developer Acceleration Program partners gain access to resources and information through a variety of engagement events. This includes our ID at Xbox Green Room series. These are live virtual events where leaders from Team Xbox speak to a range of developer requested topics, including marketing, certification best practices, making your content more accessible, game sale, and lifecycle management, and more. Developers can engage in live Q&As as well. And now, while this information is offered is available to all ID partners, we've created an environment where new teams can access key subject matter experts directly and ask questions in a friendly environment where there's no dumb questions at all. And we're regularly checking with our community of developers on topics that we should consider for the future. Another quote from our partners, I'll put this up here. Absolutely. So our friends and partners at Macula Interactive, makers of Mexico 1921, A Deep Slumber, had this to say. The Developer Acceleration Program has been an enormous help on our journey as developers. Not only is it emotionally encouraging to know Xbox supports and uplifts stories like ours, but it has helped us access Mexico's wider console market with the porting fund. Also, the feeling of community is incredible. We can access special talks for best practices and learn how to build around accessibility. Also, the ID at Xbox team has been incredible, supporting us through any questions and looking for an opportunity to put us in a showcase or an article. What an amazing breath of fresh air to know this program exists. I am certain the industry will change for the better thanks to this. We are already seeing it. Which brings me to our last pillar in the Developer Acceleration Program, which is incubation. So the goal here is we realize that for new teams, getting ideas off the ground is hard. For teams that haven't had access to the resources and information or the networks to funding, it can be very challenging. It could be the blocker for a lot of innovative ideas. So we're helping groups of teams to get their ideas off the ground by incubating and helping them to build prototypes that communicate the vision of their game. So these prototypes are going to be things that hopefully they can then take on to those investment publisher meetings and be able to actually get some traction, because we realize that those are the table stakes for a lot of our partners. So for teams that are reaching out for this program, you don't have to have a playable, but you should have a deck that tells us about your team. It should accurately and clearly communicate the vision of your project. And most importantly, it should be very clear about what exactly you want to demonstrate in your prototype and what functionality you hope to walk away with at the end of that process. And for one of our partners that is going through a few of our different prototype as well as our porting fund is our friends over at Strange Scaffold, who we partnered with to do El Paso Elsewhere. I'm going to turn back and try to read this, but they had this to say about the program. The Developer Acceleration Program doesn't just support the development of a title, it's a symbol of trust. It shows that one of the most significant players in the gaming space believes in what you're doing and how it can contribute to the wider world of games. We at Strange Scaffold are immensely grateful to have been given the opportunity, and as with our previous collaborations with Xbox, are excited to do it justice. They did a wonderful job. It's a very fun game. Highly encourage you to play that game as well. So, as many of you know, we announced the Developer Acceleration Program at GDC in 2023, but the program has been active since 2019. And since then, we've heard from hundreds of global teams seeking resources and support to reach the global audience on Xbox. And I'm proud to say again, we've had more than 200 partnerships and supported the launch of over 75 titles through the program so far. We've seen some of the most innovative and inclusive content reach players, and so we're excited to hear from more of you who are interested in supporting and being a part of this program.
The Developer Acceleration Program empowers underrepresented creators to bring amazing games to Xbox players around the world. Since 2019, we have heard from hundreds of global teams seeking resources and support to reach the global audience on Xbox. DAP supports developers in 3 primary ways. We provide funding to offset the cost of porting games to Xbox, so teams with limited resources do not have to decide between polish, marketing, and Xbox development. We provide access to relevant information via webinars and events to help level the playing field for Xbox developers of all experience levels. And we incubate new ideas to ensure that barriers to funding, resources, and networks don't block talented developers with great ideas. We've forged more than 200 partnerships and supported the launch of over 75 titles through the program so far. We've seen some of the most innovative and inclusive content reach global players on Xbox as a result. And we're just getting started. We invite you to apply for the Developer Acceleration Program today. Visit xbox.com/ID to learn more.
Excellent. That is where you learn more. And in fact, when you go to xbox.com/ID, once you sign in, you can actually get access to be able to pitch your game, not only for the Developer Acceleration Program, but also for Game Pass. So if you're like, hey, James, you know what? I'm really interested in that porting initiative or that prototype initiative or for Game Pass opportunities, you can do all of that. You can submit all of that through this portal here. So highly recommend that you get in touch, get engaged, ask. A lot of the questions that come up are, James, when is a good time to apply? My advice is always now. If you have materials that you feel comfortable sharing, you can always get on our radar and apply. Even if the answer is not right now, or if there's not a good fit for an opportunity right now, sometimes it's just good to get in the process, because now you're at least getting our newsletters. You're hearing when we're requesting for different content. We know that your game exists, that your studio exists, and we might reach out to you because we might see an opportunity later down the road. But if you never engage, we won't be able to identify and help identify those opportunities. So I encourage you to get involved right now, right away, if you aren't already if you haven't already done so. And this is my thank you slide. Yeah. Thank you all. So I think we're pretty good on time. I have some time. I can take some questions now. I'll also be in the lobby lounge, Xbox lobby lounge a little bit later. So if people have questions then, but yeah, happy to dive into questions. And I see a hand back here. And actually, let's hold on for a mic. Just so, if that's okay. Could we do a mic? Is that all right?
I have a mic here. You can be next.
With the Developer Acceleration Program, what level of stake or creative control does Xbox ask for in the project?
Ooh, that's a good question. So, for the Developer Acceleration Program, it's your game. So, you know what? I'm actually going to zoom out a bit. So, for ID at Xbox in general, it's your game. We don't have any creative control. We might have opinions, and you can say thanks, James, but no, thank you. But we have no creative control. We want to support you in making your game, bringing your vision. So that's across all of ID at Xbox. We are not leaning into the creative. If you ask for our opinion, we might even be shy about giving it to you then. But really, it's about, we want to partner with developers that have amazing games, strong vision, and just create a path where they can bring their games to more players. And so, yeah, we don't have any creative input or control in your title. And in fact, our program, we don't get into things like equity or anything like that. Again, it's about creating paths for developers to bring their games to more players. So, yeah. See a question right here? Oh, sorry, they're managing right here.
Hello, I'm Eric. I was curious, how is Xbox's policy on multi-publishing platforms? So, for instance, publishing on Xbox and on Steam, or publishing on Xbox and PlayStation, with the ID program in mind.
Yeah. So ID at Xbox, we would love for our titles to have success wherever they land. We ask that they land on our platforms, at the same time or before other places, but we don't ask for exclusivity. We aren't, that's not something that we're ever seeking in our agreements. In fact, with the Developer Acceleration Program, we're directly doing deals with partners. And even in those deals, we do not require exclusivity. We don't require equity. We're not asking for any of that, because the goal, again, is for our developers to be successful. So we encourage them to bring your games in front of as many people as possible. But I also recognize that sometimes more platforms can be a challenge for a lot of new teams. So we don't require, again, any exclusivity there, but we do ask that titles sim-ship across any platforms. So make sure that they're landing on our platforms at the same time or before other platforms. And in part, just a way of maximizing the promotion and excitement around that title. But yeah.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
So you mentioned a couple of times now your teams. I'm a solo dev, so wondering, obviously with funding, I'd like to bring on other people to do the stuff like coding, since I'm doing everything else. Does that act as a barrier to get into the program? Do we need to have a team before we apply? Would that work against us?
So it depends on what you're applying for. There are some instances where if you're applying for ID at Xbox, the more you show, the better. So if you have a playable version of your game, if you have a video that shows the gameplay, that allows our team to better understand the game that you're bringing, and it helps with the evaluation process. Now, if you're earlier, and maybe you don't have any gameplay to show, or which means we may not be able to get a great understanding of the game. So maybe it might be a not right now, or resubmit once you have more to show could be the answer. So it's less about where you are with the team and the size of your team and how many people you have. It is more about what you have as far as the materials and what you have to show. Now, one of the programs that you have the least amount of requirements for showing something is our prototype initiative. Again, having a deck here that talks about the game that you want to make and maybe has some visuals and a strong vision for your game is all that we ask for that program. But then we also want to understand that our developers are uniquely positioned to deliver against that promise. So if we have a really cool vision, we'd love to see what are the experiences and expertise from that developer that uniquely position them to deliver against that vision, if that makes sense. Of course.
All right. So I do kind of want to follow within the I do want to follow within the being a solo dev, because being here has kind of been make me want to go straight into indie work. So I guess my recommendation, my question is more just like, what do you expect for us to bring, so that we can show you like our vision of what we want to do, and most importantly, just like, so what is needed for a deck? Like, what do you expect for like a single person to do for this, to join?
Yeah. So the requirements, in my mind, are not based on team size. Like, we have a lot of solo developers that are in our program, in ID at Xbox, as well as developer acceleration program. So the emphasis is never really on the team size. It's really just about the games and the content. And hey, is that content a great fit for a particular program? Or is it at a state where we can start engaging with it for ID at Xbox? So I would say across the board, we are thinking more about that game itself. Hey, is this game feel like a really cool experience that's going to be able to delight fans on Xbox? And are they far enough along where we can start engaging with them and helping them get to the point of starting to implement live features and do all of that fun work? So it's more about, hey, is this game actually have the support that it needs to actually get to development? Now, if your question is, hey, you're seeking development funds so that you can get that idea off the ground or you can move forward, you can reach out for the prototype initiative. And in that deck, again, there's a lot of things that we want to see. There's what is the game that you're trying to bring forward? What are the kind of the basic details? What are the gameplay loops? Just describe that in as much detail as you can. And then let us know what's unique about that project. Why does this project need a prototype versus me just saying it's this meets this? If I can clearly understand the game that you're trying to make based upon maybe a strong description, then maybe it's not the best fit for a prototype program because it can be understood, which is okay. But if your game is trying to innovate on a particular feature in a certain area, where if you sit in a publisher meeting and they're like, how does that work, or what exactly is that, or can you actually pull that off? Now we're starting to ask questions that in my mind lend to this could be a game that maybe having a prototype would benefit it. So again, it always comes down to what's that vision, what are the things that you're trying to communicate in that pitch, and then what are the things that you need in a prototype they're going to start to answer questions that would come up in that pitch conversation, if that makes sense. So that's how I would focus on the information that you're providing. And so, but again, it's not really the team size. It's really that's what we look for across any of our submissions for that program.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Of course.
Hi, James.
Hey.
Thank you for the talk, first of all, man. Very great insights. I'm over here.
Oh, thank you.
I'm Pablo, by the way. I noticed, well, not noticed, but we recently submitted to the ID program yesterday with the prototype, a pitch deck, a game design document. But after hearing this talk, I noticed that there are a lot of communications channels available, and I would love to start like a conversation and get that cadence weekly or monthly to really like push this project forward. So I would love to connect with you and maybe work a little bit on that. I know you're super busy, so no pressure.
Thank you for starting the process. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had another question, but it slipped my mind. It'll come back to me. I promise.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, while you think of it, we have a team that's available in the lobby lounge as well. So we have a lot of awesome people across ID at Xbox. I encourage you, I'm going to be up there for a bit. I want you to meet some other people up there. Let them know that you submitted, all of that stuff. Like, it's just be great to meet you in person. I'm glad you're part of the process now. And then we're here to help. So if you have questions along the way, that's what our team is here for. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hi, James. My name is Crandon. We submitted with you guys yesterday as well. But I had a question in regards to, we already have a prototype, but I know going through this process, there's like polish and things during the pitching process that people have asked. And does prototype support actually cover us, polishing up the prototype we already have to be better able and better positioned when we actually go ahead and do these pitches? Because I pitched you guys last year. You guys said you're not ready. Came back, talked to you guys again. So, and said that you can submit as many times as we need to. So I'm just kind of getting an idea of what best or how we need to position so that my studio can make the game that we're making.
Yeah. So, great question, man. There's a couple things I heard here. Sounds like you all are continuously working on your game, which is great. So you submitted once, you what, we're going to continue working on it. We love to see that. I think, a lot of people say, hey, it's the first impression. Like, first impressions are great, but what we love to see is when developers are passionate about their ideas and they're willing to develop and work on those ideas and then follow up with us later. Like, that's a strong signal. When I can meet a team and I feel like they're going to make that game regardless of getting our support or not, like, that tells me they're passionate about what they're making, and I love to see that. Now, with that said, like, the prototype initiative is for helping to provide clarity around certain features or mechanics or things about that game. So what it is not is a way of, offering finishing funds or polish, because at that point, an idea can be clearly communicated, but whenever it switches to making that thing look better, it's no longer about clarity of concept, but it's more about presentation. And the prototype program is not focused on polish and presentation, but more about clarity of idea so that developers can, aren't turned away because, potential investors just don't understand or think they can pull it off, if that makes sense. So I would encourage you, I don't know how far along you are in the process in the game, but if you're at a point where you're thinking about polish, maybe it's a better porting opportunity. Maybe instead, it's like, hey, instead of prototype, maybe we're more interested in porting opportunity or something like that. And so you can always reach out or apply for that particular program. And then, yeah, if you ever want to, we can also connect. If you want us to talk specifics about anything, we can connect offline, and I'd be happy to share any insights I have as well. But thanks for the question.
Hello? Check. All right, cool. Hey, James, right here, blue shirt. Blue,
Thank you.
Right here, Hezekiah, Glasscat Studios. I'm interested in getting a dev kit. So far as doing the prototype program, how early or likely are you to get a dev kit so you can test it out? Just so you don't get towards the middle of development and find like there's a lot of issues porting it onto the Xbox.
Great question. So our prototype program, actually, there's no requirement for that to actually run on a console. Like, again, for the prototype program, it's about clarity of ideas. So a lot of our teams, when they're just getting ideas off the ground, they're doing a lot of this, and this, so they're focused PC first, and that's where their mind is. So developing from that standpoint, because we're not talking about porting and shipping the game yet, so that's where the focus is for the prototype program. But now for ID at Xbox, for developers that are coming through and bringing their games through ID at Xbox, not just through, a prototype initiative or anything, but because like, hey, we got a cool game and we're trying to bring it to the players that exist on Xbox. The ID program offers dev kits, so you get access to those things. You get access to the SDK. You get access to the hardware that you need to build and test your game and all of that. So that's just an aspect of the ID program. So I would encourage you, just if you haven't already, to apply for the program. And part of the process, once your concept has been submitted and accepted, is that you'll be on the path to getting all the kits and things that you need for to test out your title.
Cool beans, thank you.
Hey, my name is Kai, and a question that I have is basically for basically any program for Xbox, right? And the question is, like, what is Xbox looking for to support these developers, right? So, like, of course, Xbox not gonna accept any like application. So, what is Xbox looking for? What are they like? I guess not requirements, but like, yeah, what is it looking for just to support these developers?
So, repeating the question, what is Xbox looking for from our developers? Like you mean as far as like what kind of games?
Not what kind of games, but like, I guess what kind of, I mean, maybe what kind of games. I don't know. Just
Sure.
like what kind of like things in their projects are things that Xbox is looking for, I guess.
Yeah. Great question. So it's rare that you'll hear like anybody on my team or anything say, "Hey, we're looking for a particular type of game," because in reality, we're looking for the passion from a developer who has a game they want to bring. So like we want to know like, "Hey, what's that game for you that means everything?" And your excitement would actually lead to our excitement. So we want to know for you, but versus if we say, well, we're looking for this genre and we're looking for this, and then people are trying to like go bring that, like we want people to bring their passion. We want people to tell the stories they feel like they're uniquely positioned to tell, and we want to help empower you on that journey. So that's what we're looking for, are like the developers that are really passionate and putting their best into their projects, and then let's find ways that we can support you and be a part of that journey. So sorry, it's kind of maybe a non-answer, but it really is because we want you to tell us, hey, this is the game that we're really excited about, and here's why we're making it. Here's why we think we're uniquely qualified and positioned to make it. And you know what? We're probably going to make this regardless of if you partner or not. And those are the types of experiences that I think we're like, hey, there's something here. We think it's awesome because you're excited. Now we're excited. So, yeah.
Hey, so I came in a little late, so
All good.
a couple questions. So I was in the PlayStation store, seen Forza coming soon. Is there going to be any more games from Xbox to go over to PlayStation and from PlayStation to Xbox?
Oh, you really missed the whole talk. Okay.
I just came in. I'm sorry.
So everything I spoke about today was more about the path for independent developers to bring their games to Xbox. So I'm actually not the person to speak about our first party strategy and a lot of those games, but I can say we want to ensure that independent developers are able to have success when they bring their games to the global audience on Xbox. And that's really what a lot of our focus are. We want you to be successful wherever your game goes. We would love for your game to be part of programs like Xbox Play Anywhere. If we can delight players by experiencing and engaging with your games across multiple devices, now we think that will help the engagement for your title, which will hopefully help your own business. So that's what a lot of our focus is making sure that you can join us in this journey. We're looking for more games that are delighting players with Xbox Play Anywhere. So if that's a particular feature or something that excites you, let's be a part of that journey together.
Hi, my name is Kara. First, it's just thank you. It's refreshing to walk into something and see that the story of your company, your team, all that matters, and that's what you guys are looking at is that passion. A lot of times we hit places and it's like, we don't really care about you, we just want to see what you have. So I think this is a great thing. But my specific question, we have been working for about 2 years. We're getting close to launch, and we've bootstrapped. So we want to port over to Xbox, but does the fact that we've already funded, even if it was self-funding, affect our ability to get assistance with that, to get into that program?
Congrats. That sounds wonderful. Yeah, that's awesome. No, that just says to me that now it sounds like we can help you with the challenging work of just bringing it to the platform. You've done a lot of the heavy lifting to get this game developed and all of that. So I think you're in a wonderful space, and we would love to hear from you, because if we can help, if it's a great fit, then maybe we can find ways of supporting you and helping you bring it to the platform. And that way you can just focus on making the best game possible and reaching your audience. And I encourage you to reach out. That sounds great. Yeah. I see a mic here. Is it battery still working in it?
Test, test.
Yeah, so I'm in the process of trying to get support for my game right now, and this is obviously a path that I'm looking at. But if I'm looking at multiple paths, if I sign up for the program and then I also a publisher comes along and wants to help fund, how does that build like conflict, or is that what happens there?
Great question. So if ID at Xbox, this is a self-publishing platform. It creates a way for you to just publish your games on Xbox yourself. You don't have to go through a publisher. But we also recognize for some of our partners, there's benefits for them having a publisher in that partnership. And we support you in that journey too. So, if you decide later, you know what, James, we found a publisher, and then we just ask, okay, well, do you want to continue the conversation with us, or should we talk to them? It's as easy as that, but in no way does that, block you or anything like that. So it's, again, the focus is on you, your success, your studio, and making sure that game can reach the audience. So, yeah. So I think we got time for a few more questions here. Okay.
Hey, James, thanks so much for the super insightful deep dive into the ID at Xbox journey. And so I guess my question is focused on the prototype initiative. I'm curious, what kind of timeline does that take as far as say get your game review or your pitch deck reviewed, and from that point on when you've hit the big green button that says approve, how long typically do you like to see the time horizon for the prototype to manifest?
Great question. So the timelines for a prototype, we don't have a fixed timeline, and the reason is because some of our teams are maybe teams that are a bit more established, and they can just start working and iterating on stuff, and maybe they do a few sprints and they already have something. Some of our other teams, they're moonlighting, and it's a one-person studio, and they're doing this as in their spare time, and so they just need more time and leeway. But for the studios that we partner with, we actually work with them to identify a timeline that works for them. On average, I would say right now, a lot of our prototype initiatives have between 6 and 9 months of time, and then we'll build out milestones along that way. And then for those teams, we ask, how often would it be helpful to engage with us or get feedback? We don't want to set up and inject ourselves in the process in a way that's disruptive to their development. But we ask, how can we be most helpful in those situations? So it really is a conversation that we have with our developers based on their needs and schedule. But yeah.
That's so great to hear. And yeah, that seems very reasonable. Thank you so much.
Of course, my pleasure.
2 minutes. Last question.
Hey, I've been developing a game on my free time for the last 6 years, and the game is already available in early access on Steam and Xbox. I used UWP to post my game on Xbox, and I never applied to the ID at Xbox because I had no legal structure for my studio. I decided to just go full-time on the project, quit my job, try to build a studio, but I have no legal structure yet. Do you think I can apply already, or should I wait until I have everything fixed?
You can apply as a sole proprietor. So that's something that you can do now. And then later, if you were to establish a company and do the work to that, those are things that we can help transfer over. But even if you don't have the studio structures and things like that signed up now, you can still get engaged with the program, do NDAs, submit concepts, a lot of that stuff before you've done that. So I would encourage you to go through and just apply as a sole proprietor. So it's just being yourself before you actually have your company established. That's a situation that comes up quite often, so you wouldn't be alone in that. So I encourage you just to start there.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. I think we may have time. We're wrapped. I thank you all again for the time today. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we got your questions answered. I'll be in the lobby lounge here for a little bit, but thank you again for coming out. I appreciate you.